Direct from the heart of Midland, this is the April 2017 edition of MPS Today. My name is Scott Cochran, Auxiliary Education Curriculum Specialist for the Midland Public Schools and host of the show. Our show today is going to be STEM-tastic. We are focused on all things STEM in the Midland Public Schools. By now, you've probably heard that in schools, it's all things STEM all the time. STEM is the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics for our students and is prevalent throughout all of our schools. Today's show will focus on STEM opportunities for students in commercial art and in middle school robotics, along with updates from the Counselor's Corner and the new construction at the Central Park Elementary School, which will be our new STEM-based school. Next month, we'll continue our STEM focus with a look at still more STEM opportunities for our students. Now remember that you can find all of our programming, including graduation, select concerts, and athletic events on our YouTube site. So just go to our website, www.midlandps.org, and click on the YouTube button. Now let's welcome our guest to the studio. From the Dow High School Commercial Art class, we have teacher Curt Gledhill and student Devin Tedbarge. Mr. Gledhill and Devin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You bet. Now tell us a little bit about yourselves. Mr. Gledhill, how long have you been teaching and what do you teach over at Dow High?
This is my 19th year of teaching in Midland Public Schools, 5th year over at Dow High. This year I'm teaching a couple of beginning art sections and then the commercial art and production class, as well as the International Baccalaureate Visual Art class.
Okay. And how long have you been at Dow High now?
This is my 5th year.
5th year there,
Yeah.
Okay, great. And Devin, what year are you in school?
I'm a junior at Dow, so.
Yep. And how's school going? Well, what's your favorite subject?
It's great. I mean, my favorite subject is commercial art, though.
Okay.
I mean,
Nice.
Yeah. Good answer,
Yeah.
good answer, yeah.
because I've never worked with computers like that with working for different projects in art. I've always done drawings or sculptures, never anything on computers.
Sure. So this is marrying both those topics.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into that in just a couple minutes here. What else do you like to do? I mean, are you involved in other school activities? Or?
I'm the vice president of our finance club at school,
Okay.
where we talk about investing and when to invest in certain companies.
Okay. Buy low and sell high, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a general idea. All right. Well, we can talk about that on another show. So tell us a little bit about the goals. What are the goals of the commercial art class?
Well, the primary goal would have to be to give the kids a really good, almost professional level experience with commercial art and graphic design. We get them into the software we use, primarily the Adobe Creative Suite set of programs, so they really learn that software very well. We've had a number of students that have graduated from our program, gone on to college, and sent us messages back and said that they were months and months ahead of their peers in the same courses in their freshman year of college. So that's good for us to know that we're preparing the kids well.
Right.
So they're going to learn how to do logo design, which is one of the main things we focus on. Layout, we talk a lot about typography and understanding the different types of fonts that are out there and the way to use them, when to use them, and when not to use them. They're going to do a little bit of animation yet at the end of the year, and they even get into t-shirt design, and we produce silk screens, and the kids will actually print their own t-shirt, which is cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
What are some of the designs that folks might know that they've seen around town?
Well, you mentioned in your opening that you were going to talk about Central Park Elementary School.
Yeah.
Our class is the one that produced the logo for that school, which is cool.
Okay.
So they came to us about 6 months ago, and the principals that will be involved with that school came to us, presented their idea for what they were looking for, gave us some ideas on colors, and then just set us loose. And the kids did a really great job with those logos. In fact, I'll let Devin talk a little bit about the process because he was involved in that. So.
Okay.
For my logo, I created a compass-like that had the initials of the school around it, and they wanted specific colors, the orange and blue, kind of like the Detroit Tigers. And it was pretty interesting. It was our first logo that we made in the class, and so I was very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
They
cool.
go through a brainstorming process. So after the presentation from the principals, there's kind of a question and answer session where the students are asking them questions about what they're looking for, what are they not looking for, and in some areas they had really specific ideas in mind, and in other areas they kind of let the kids do what they wanted. Then they go into their sketchbooks, and they're literally doing pencil and paper for the first couple of days, and generating 40 different concepts. So they're called thumbnails in our program. So they generated 4 different thumbnail sketches, Then we get together in small groups within the class, and they sort of talk out their thumbnail sketches to kind of refine down to the best ideas. Then they go to their machines and they start producing their designs, and about halfway through the design process, everybody stops where they're at. This would be maybe a week and a half into work, and we do what we call a soft critique. And so a soft critique is we put their designs up, which we know aren't done yet, and basically we'd let the class rip on each other to help them. Yeah. We're all moving towards this common goal, and so it's a really good learning opportunity for the kids, because not only are they getting feedback from their peers, but as a peer you get to look at other people's design and say, okay, here's why I know that that should be better this way or would be better this way. The kids' learning curve is really very steep, but it's also very accurate as far as they learn very quickly through that process. And they go back and they refine those ideas after the soft crit, and then they do a hard crit at the end where they're presenting their best version of their idea forward. And so it worked out really well.
So that part of that whole process at the beginning is sort of client driven.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned the principals coming in and giving you colors and some specifics for the design, and then you had pieces that you can create on your own too. Yep. So there must be a lot of work that happens before that, though, because the students have to have some skill in working with Adobe Creative Suite already.
Yep.
So that's earlier in the year.
Yep.
And then they start working with clients. So by the end of the year, students are able to design logos. You said screen printing for shirts.
Yep.
I would imagine that it kind of does it broaden into advertising campaigns and all that kind of thing too. You mentioned the logo for Central Park Elementary. I know when I was at Siebert Elementary, I saw their units of study, and that was something that your class produced.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
What I know isn't there something about the Dow Spring the Run Walk?
Yep, the Run Walk logo is one that our commercial art class has produced for many years. I think 14 or 15 years our class has produced that logo that's used every year for that walk. They're kind of our biggest client, so to speak, because they're returners. They really know when they come in, they've done it with us so many times that they really came in knowing exactly what they wanted, what they didn't want. And because we've done that logo for so many years, the kids it's very challenging, because they basically said, we don't want a sunshine, and we don't want somebody running, and we don't want tennis shoes, because we've seen those so many times. So the kids are like, those are my 3 best ideas, you just knocked them loose. And so it was really good for the students to really have that challenge. And the clients, there's a number of people that are with that organization, they said they've never seen this many fresh ideas before out of this class. So that was really nice for me as a teacher to know that the kids all really grabbed the assignment and ran with it.
Sure.
So.
And now there's something about this logo right here, isn't there too? I mean.
Yeah, that was produced out of our program, I think 2 or 3 years ago. One of our students produced that as well. And so we have groups come to us. In fact, we just presented today in class to the Midland Human Trafficking Task Force, which is a nonprofit organization. They were looking for a logo. Tough organization as far as...
That's an intense topic.
It is. The topic was hard, and the kids were a little bit taken aback, but they produced some great work, and I told them, I said, this is very true to life. When you're working as a graphic designer, you don't get to pick who your clients are. And so they walked in and told us what they wanted and what they didn't want, and the kids did just great. Our clients, when they got our presentation and left today, they said, we don't know what we're going to pick because we've got so many good options here. So that's nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Devin, take us a little bit through this creative process. You know, Mr. Gledhill talked about the fact that you start off with sketches, and then you put some ideas into the Creative Suite, and then you critique each other, and then you refine. So what do you enjoy about that process? What do you find challenging? What is that like for you?
Well, the 40 thumbnail sketches, that's usually the hardest part is because you get the first 10 and you're like, okay, those are easy, and then you get past that for the next 30 and you're like, I have no idea what to do. But usually what I do is I take a break, start watching television, maybe something will come up and I get an idea. And that's one of my most favorite things, that part of the process. And then also the critique. I like seeing how other people in the class view what I created, and seeing what I should fix and what I should keep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of give and take, it sounds like, within the class, sharing ideas. Do you ever walk away from that and come up with ideas that maybe weren't even mentioned in the critique, but that kind of spurred something else for you?
Sometimes Mr. Gledhill will help me out after the critiquing process in the class. Maybe he'll think maybe something should change, maybe a color difference, and that usually will help out a lot.
What do you think are some of the ways that you've grown the most this year with regard to your use of technology and your art?
Well, I've never used Illustrator before, so that was huge. We learned like the first few weeks how to work it, and it was kind of confusing for the first project, but after that, I mean, we understood. And
Yeah.
it was very interesting.
I would guess that when most community members think about art, they're probably imagining, painting and drawing
Yeah.
and clay and jewelry and all kinds of amazing expressions of art. But this is a really different, unique way of expressing art. What do you find you're able to do on the computers or through commercial art that you weren't able to do in other artistic expressions?
Well, on the computer, also tracing things is a lot easier. Getting images from online and then using those in your art piece, it's a lot easier than having to print pictures off and then take that and put it on the drawing or under the light table, and it's a lot easier that way than without.
And the variations, I think, and Devin would attest to this as any of them will, you can come up with 30 or 40 different versions of the same idea in a computer in a class period. Right. Where if we were doing it all handwork, you'd be drawing it and then redrawing it and then redrawing it. But I can say, Devin, in fact, I've said this, I said, that looks good, try it in 5 different colors. Yeah. So right now, he goes and looks at all these different color combinations and sees, okay, here's my basic idea in black and white, but here's what it looks like in blue and orange, and here's what it looks like in gray and blue and whatever. And so to get those variations so quickly, and sometimes you can come up with something that you would have never thought of because you had to do 10 more versions of it where you wouldn't probably do that if it was all handwork. It just takes too much time.
Yeah, of course. Devin, can you think of a time this year when, how has your artwork changed, or how has your thought about art changed as a result of being involved in commercial art?
Overall, it might change my career choice. Usually before this, I was thinking more veterinarian style, but while taking this class, I realized I really enjoy doing art on the computer, and that's a huge difference from medical to art. Right.
Now I'm a parent as well as an educator, and I know Mr. Gledhill is as well. And all of us parents were like, no, we all think about a starving artist, right? So tell me about what kind of career goals you could have in commercial art.
Well, I really want to do in the computer graphic imagery, as I said, and then maybe doing ads for different companies or logos, like how we've done in the class.
And it seems like there's a lot on TV and on the big screen these days that is computer generated too, right? Is that something you might be interested in? Because you mentioned animation before.
Yeah, and if he goes into CGI, that's certainly a budding world, and it's not only in the movies and TV now, but it's going to be on your phone and
that's true.
Beamed into our brains before we know it.
Probably. Yeah. So you find out that pretty interesting too, probably. So. That's very cool. So what are some of the goals for the rest of the year for the class, and what are you looking to learn specifically, Mr.?
We did mention we're going into something right now, we call it the infographic, which is sort of it's a relatively new concept. They've been out maybe 10 years or something like that, but it's a way for any company or organization to present information and ideas in some non-paragraph form. Dow uses them all the time, and all of companies do now. So our society has gotten to the fact where we don't want to sit and read for pages and pages. We want to look at something and get a grasp on what it's about pretty quickly. Well, then that's our responsibility as graphic designers to make sure that the information is communicated quickly with just a view. So now instead of throwing a bar graph up on a page, now maybe it's a bar graph that's made out of pencils and pens because the information has to do with kids in school or whatever. So the graphic now is directly related to the information rather than just something that's generic. And so the kids are going to learn how to create that type of information and image in the course. I told the kids, I said, in another class in history or in English, you might do a research paper. We don't do research papers here, we do infographics. So their first step was to do a very basic, kind of boiled down version of a research paper. And they turn it into me, but I said, I'm not going to read your paper. I'm just going to see that you've got enough information and check you off, because I don't want to see your written paper. I want to see what you do with it.
Right.
So now they take all that data, and now they're just in the process right now starting to visually interpret it and create this. And when they're done, I want to be able to look at their graphic from 10 feet away, have a pretty good grasp on what it's about, and basically what the information is contained therein, because that's the direction that our society is going, and it's a major field piece of graphic design right now.
No doubt. And what are you looking to do the rest of this year?
I want to learn how to use Photoshop. We haven't gotten into that yet, but I've never used it before, and I'm excited to get to learn how to use it.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
That'll be one more tool in your toolbox when it comes to doing this work. Well, that's awesome. Well, Mr. Gledhill and Devin, thank you so much for talking with us about commercial art. What a great opportunity. Up next is our Counselor's Corner, followed by Northeast Middle School Robotics, and then you see more pictures and videos from the construction at our STEM-based elementary school, Central Park Elementary. You don't want to miss that, so stick around for more MPS Today right after this.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Hi, welcome to the April edition of Counselor's Corner. I am Jill English. I'm a counselor at Dow High School, and sitting with me today is Lori Hallberg, also a counselor at Dow High. We are here today to give you an update on what's happening in the counseling world at both Dow High and Midland High. April is a busy month of state standardized testing in the high school. Please take note that MME testing for juniors will begin on the Tuesday that we return from spring break. All juniors are required to complete all portions of MME testing. On April 11th and 12th, all juniors will be taking the SAT and work keys. Also on April 12th, all students in grades 9 and 10 will be taking the PSAT 9 and PSAT 10. The SAT that the juniors take can be used for college admissions. Students will also have the option to send their test score to 4 colleges at no charge. Students will be automatically registered for these tests and there is no fee. During the last 2 weeks of April, juniors will finish up state testing by taking the M-STEP, which will be an online test in both science and social studies. Each student will have a designated slot in that 2-week window to test.
The third marking period ends on April 13th, which means the final marking period for the year begins on April 17th. It will be important to monitor grades using Home Access Center for a strong finish to the end of the school year. And don't forget that National Honor Society tutors are available. Students should contact their counselor if they'd like to set this up. If your student is planning to retake the SAT or take the SAT 2 subject tests on June 3rd at Dow High School, you need to register on the College Board website by May 9th. And that's it for this month. Join us next month for more important information.
Welcome back to MPS Today. We continue our look at STEM-based opportunities for our students by learning about the robotics team at Northeast Middle School. So please join me in greeting a robotics mentor, David Hocking, and students Keaton Hocking and Joey Pelletier. Now, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. Now, Mr. Hocking, how are you connected to Northeast Middle School and how did you get into robotics?
Yeah, actually, Joey's dad, Doug Pelletier, decided when he entered into his sons were in middle school, decided he wanted to start up a robotics team. Okay. Many of his parents were actually involved in the elementary for the first Lego League competition, yeah, where our kids built Lego robotics and programmed them to do missions. Then he did the research to figure out how to kick off a team for middle school. So I just absolutely said I would love to volunteer. He does the software side, I do the mechanical side, and together We created a team of about 10 kids that are on the team.
Okay, awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, Keaton and Joey. I mean, what year are you in school, first off?
Well, I'm in 8th grade.
Okay.
About to go into.
And what do you like about school? What are your favorite subjects?
I love math and science. Bit more math.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you got into the robotics team, obviously. Any other activities that you're involved in at school?
I'm going to be starting up track and field, and I also definitely like to do drama.
Okay, good. Awesome. And Joey, how about for you?
I'm in 7th grade.
Yeah.
My favorite class is probably science class. It's really fun and interactive, so.
Okay. You get to do different experiments. And
yeah.
You learn by doing, right?
Yes,
yeah.
I love doing that.
And you're in the robotics team. And any other activities that you're involved in?
I'm doing track as well coming up, and I did cross country and basketball earlier in the year.
Awesome. So you're keeping yourself pretty busy. It sounds like. Yeah.
Now, Joey, we were talking earlier off camera about the team name. So tell me about the team name and the nickname that grew out of that.
So our name is Maelstrom, which is a Viking hurricane, kind of.
Okay.
So, and we also have a nickname. It's Hugs, H-U-G-S, an acronym. It came from a meeting. One person just said we should give out free hugs at the competition. So then everyone laughed a bit, then we actually did it. So we put hugs on stickers, and then we gave them away.
And so tell me again what the HUG stands for.
HUG stands for Helpful, Unstoppable, Gracious Students.
Okay, Helpful, Unstoppable, Gracious Students. Awesome. And at your competitions, not to get ahead of ourselves a little bit, but if I understand right, you have to ally or work with other teams, right? So you're trying to make yourselves a little more approachable, it sounds like. Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, Mr. Hocking, when you were talking, you mentioned mechanical and programming. So there's kind of a mechanical engineering and a computer programming element, it sounds like, to what happens. What does the Northeast Robotics, the Maelstrom team do, and when do you meet, and what kind of activities are you involved in?
Yeah, so actually a kickoff starts in September when the first announces what the competition will be. This year it was called Velocity Vortex, and simply put, there were 2 basketball hoop type designs in the middle of a 12x12 field, and you had to build a robot that would collect 4-inch size wiffle balls and launch them into these baskets. And then they had sort of yoga sized balls that your robot could pick up and collect and set it on top of the basket.
For points.
And so you do that for points. You have to figure out sort of what your design of your robot's going to do, what elements, what you're capable of doing based on your experience, and what you want to challenge yourself to try to have the robot accomplish. So that's really what the team objective is for all the FTC teams, the First Tech Challenge teams, to do. And so we meet, we kick off, we brainstorm on what we would like to accomplish, and then we meet probably 2 to 3 times a week starting in September through December time frame. And that's really the core of the competition period. And then throughout the year, we actually have the kids focus on different objectives, like how could you get a robot to throw a ball? How could you get your robot to pick itself up and do a pull-up? How could you have it kick something, or autonomously on its own intelligence follow an objective and follow lines on the floor? So these are all the different challenges, whether it's programming, mechanical, the different systems, and working together on how are they going to accomplish this.
And there's competitions, right? So you have a construction phase where you're learning about the tasks that you have to complete, and then you figure out how to make the robot do that.
Yes.
And then when does the competition phase start?
Yeah, so the competition, there's qualifying matches. So you meet and you compete against about 36 teams in a qualifying match. They start in November, go through the first week of December.
Okay.
Then the top 6 teams from there get to go to make it to state. And our boys this year, this is our second year to have a team, and so we made it in the top 6 at our qualifying meet in November, and we went to state, and out of 72 teams, we were somewhere around 18th or so at states.
That's really impressive. That's great. Well, Keaton, tell us a little bit about why you like being in robotics. What do you enjoy about it?
Well, I like creating the mainframe of the robot. For example, when presented a problem with it, we had to figure out how to collect these 4-inch diameter wiffle balls, and so there were many ideas. We eventually came up with a conveyor system and sort of like a flapper system. It comes out and just reaches out to them, grabs it in,
sweeps them into the...
sweeps them in, and then brings them up. That's something that we had to go through multiple prototyping stages for, and he worked on another part of it, which is the flicker to shoot them up in.
To shoot them in?
Yeah.
So how did you figure out how to do that?
Well, we were watching various YouTube videos to find the best way.
It always comes back to YouTube.
Yes.
It always does.
So one of them, we saw they got a piece of plastic and they used a motor to turn it, and when it built up enough pressure, it'd flick, and then that would flick the ball up and into the hoop.
Did that work for you guys?
Yes,
it did. Now, are there kits? I mean, do you buy like a preformed robot and you screw it together?
There are these giant boxes that we get and that you can purchase during the off season or during the season.
Okay.
And they'll come with a multitude of different parts and pieces, everything from, isn't it like the wire kit to the whole construction actual kit.
So think of it as like a big connector set. So
Yeah.
they're metal frames, different sizes, different shapes that have holes sort of pre-drilled so they connect fairly well together.
Okay.
But there's no set on how it looks like. You know, it's up to the kid's imagination. And then we can modify.
Yep.
So I bring in my tools, Dremel tools, tin snips, and we'll go to Home Depot or Ace Hardware or Lowe's, you name it, or our own garage and look for something that might fit, something that might work.
And if not, we'll make it work. With just we can take a giant sheet of plexiglass and then take some tools to it and make it into a hopper.
Okay. So if I understand what you're saying correctly, I mean, you get some raw materials. You know, you cut like a set of materials, but they don't come with directions. You have to figure out how to put it together.
There is
sometimes you're manufacturing your own parts as well, it sounds like. So that's awesome. Tell me about a challenge you had this year where you had an idea of how you wanted to do something, and the first time or two you tried it didn't work, and you came up with something else that did.
So one of my subgroups that we were working on, we were trying to find out different ways to shoot the balls still. So one of our ideas was like a baseball launcher, like when two wheels spin in opposite directions and shoot the ball. So we started doing that, and it wouldn't shoot very far at first, so then we decided to gear up the wheels. And then it started shooting, but it took up too much space, so we kind of moved on to the next idea.
That's a good point, right? I mean, in an engineering problem, you sometimes can make something happen, but if it weighs too much or if it takes up too much space, it's no longer practical, right?
Yeah.
You probably deal with that all the time at work as well, I'd imagine.
And to his point about the space, is the robot, you know, has to fit 18 by 18 by 18 inches.
Oh, okay.
But then once you actually start the competition, it can expand and grow as big as you want.
So you can make like a piece that would originally be about this big to then go up to at least maybe the ceiling. But this year we did have a sort of like a limit to how big the robot could get afterwards during the driver control section.
So you'd almost have like a telescoping piece.
Yes, you could.
Because you said you had to place the ball up higher.
Yes, we didn't do that this year.
Okay. Well, we've been talking a lot about the mechanical side, but I imagine there must be some computer programming involved as well.
Yeah.
So who wants to talk about computer programming, how that happened this year?
That wasn't entirely.
We're kind of both mechanical.
We're both mechanical.
Okay, that wasn't your specialty.
I can definitely explain some of the things. We use this engine that we got. It originally has to be online, but we got this special program that allows it to work offline, and it's. Have you ever heard of, I think it was Sketch or something? It was
Google Sketch?
It was some type of programming website where you can learn the little basics of it.
Sure.
And how it teaches you are these blocks. Now, it's the same exact concept with this, and you just drag, drop blocks into their places, just normal if-then statements, just normal.
So yeah,
stuff like all that you need for it.
The robot is actually controlled, its sort of brain as a cell phone.
Okay.
And so you have a cell phone that's connected to like Xbox controllers. That's how you drive it. But you have to program it that whenever you hit a certain button, when you hit a certain joystick, what is it going to do? So the kids actually have to understand the variable for that joystick and what that variable is going to go and do. Is it going to turn the right wheel, the left wheel? We have sensors on there that are like color sensors, so you have to go up and read a light if it's red or blue, and it would have to read the light, and then it would have to say, do I move forward or do I stop? Different things like that. We have color sensors that read like a white line on the ground. That we didn't get that to work, probably some of the troubleshooting, but you go up and read it, and it knows it's white, and therefore it knows to then follow that line.
Okay.
But all that's not baked in there. So
Sure.
The kids learn, you know, I love how you said that, Keaton, is if-then statements, do loops, you know, the different just common practical applications for programming. And Joey's dad, Doug, is sort of the master behind it, but the kids just own it. And that's what's great about it is you can do Java, you can make it more complex. Like Jefferson, their team is very, very good at the programming.
They're amazing.
And so they have great mentors in there. So all the different kids, we learn from each other. It's not just Northeast.
Sure.
We've sort of grown up with each other with even our sister team at Jefferson.
Sounds like a great opportunity, and I really, I hear you all talking more for you guys right now about the mechanical, but I'm sure the programming side is an interest area that can grow for you too. And Mr. Hocking, we so much appreciate you taking the time to work with the students and help them in their exploration. It's just, we couldn't do these sort of things without folks like yourself, so thank you very much. And Keaton and Joey, keep it up. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun and hopefully learning a lot too while you're at it. And you know, it's great because you're learning about programming and engineering, but you're also learning how to work together as a team and with other teams too. So great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
Well, up next, for the rest of our show, you'll see pictures and video from the construction at Central Park Elementary School. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on MPS Today.